power everything, right? So how much wattage do you need when it comes to a power supply? And what kind of power supply do you actually want inside of your computer? What we're going to do is talk to you about two different models that are relatively same, but have slight differences, and why you might want to pick one over the other. Now, how much wattage do you actually need when it comes to having a power supply? Well, that's kind of up to you. Check the manufacturer's spec sheet to see what the normal operating wattage is. You need to tally up how many hard drives you have, how many components you have plugged into them, how many RGB strips, all of that type of thing goes into it. What we have here are two different power supplies. The first one is a pure power 11, and the second one is a straight power 11. The difference between the two is one is semi-modular and one is full modular. Well, semi-modular means that some of the cables are completely detached. Now you have a little bit of a length coming out of here, which has your 24 pin and your 8 EPS pin there. Well, it's actually a 4+4, but it can also serve as an 8-pin EPS, which would be going to your motherboard. And then you also have 3 different ports for your drives or peripherals, and then you have 2 different ports for your PCI cables. Now, if you'd like a little bit cleaner of a look, you go with a straight power 11. Again, these are relatively comparable when it comes to power supplies and how they function. But when it comes to the cables and cleanliness, the full modular is going to be your best friend. And as you can see, when I pull this right out of the box, all you got is the square of the power supply. And on the front here, you have the labels for the motherboard, the 8-pin EPS or the 4-pin, whichever, your drives or peripherals, and then your PCI lanes as well. And again, as you can see, there's no cables that are attached to it. So inside of this box here, you have a whole bunch of different cables that you can use at your disposal. For some of the new manufacturers, the motherboards that they have out there require a dual 8-pin EPS cable, or an 8 and a 4. That being said, this particular model comes with both. And the cool part about that is that inside here, one of these cables, so this is the single, which would be running just if you only have the one 8-pin connector. But if you have 2 of them, that's no big deal. Right off of the power supply, there is a split. So it has actually 2 8-pin EPS connectors. Power supplies are both highly rated and highly recommended power supplies, and they will definitely power pretty much anything that you throw at it. Depending on what your wattage is and how much consumption you're going to be using, you might want a different model. This is the 600 watt and this is the 650. Now they go anywhere from 500 all the way up to 1,000 or more. But it all depends on what you're going to be using it for in your build. Both are great options and both are relatively inexpensive and definitely a good peace of mind when it comes to putting it into your computer and supporting your new hardware.